I don't like talking about the Handmaid's Tale. Just I've never wanted to talk about it online, mainly for the fact that just usually there's just online the next morning, just people would be able to analyze this show far better than I do, and I feel it's just such a dark and like hard show to talk about, just for how unpleasant it is. That there's just like I just felt that I always was afraid to say something to offend someone, and the Handmaid's Tale is an interesting show because like it's been named one of the most timely shows ever made, and I've always gotten it. Like you could always find similarities between the show and modern day the political climate of today, but I've always the thing about that though is this show it's a it's never it's never broken me per se. Like I know so many people who like just don't watch the show because it's an incredibly made show. I don't think anyone denies that. Just like I can't even recommend it to people, even though I think it's one of the best shows on TV. Because I just say it's just such a fucking hard watch because it's just such a cruel, miserable, and uncaring world that these characters live in. It is just hard to watch all the shit that happens, but with all, even though people say it's one of those timely shows, I've always watched this show with a certain ironic emotional joy on the grounds that I've always said, even though people like do find horrifying that they can build draw parallels between the show and today. I've always felt it so emotionally reassuring that even though no matter how bad things ever got, I can always watch this show and just at least say in my head, well, at least we're not that. When you see like a scene like of woman marching in the street over their rights, and I'm like, okay, you can follow similarity, but then when a man in an armed government agent starts firing a machine gun at them and starts killing them by the dozen, I can at least say, at least we're not that. When you see our administration basically calls everything but the propagandist machine that is Fox News fake news, and you can see the same with like the commander. He goes to Canada and then says like when everyone's like saying like what are you doing, the handmaids, and he's just like, oh, that's just fake news. But then that's a similarity. But then when you see that, like, learn that they basically, when the main characters in the remains of the Boston Globe, and see that basically everyone there was brutally murdered by either gunfire or hanging, you could say we're not there. This is the episode, though, that just. I know this show like has broken a lot of people. This episode 10, the last ceremony. This is the one that mentally broke me. This is the one I just wanted to talk about, have a recording of myself talking about this online, because this is the one episode in the dystopian novel that at least you could always tell yourself, at least we're not there. This is the episode that just made me said, oh wait, we're there right now. This is the current state of our nation, and just... That's what mentally broke me about this episode. This is the one that almost drove me to tears because I could not just shake my head and say, at least we're not there. It's, like, a bunch of stuff happens in this episode, but I'm not going to talk about all that stuff. I'm not going to talk about, like, all this, like, the rape scene or the death or whatever, all the other stuff that happens. I want to talk about one very specific scene in which June finally reunites with her daughter, Hannah, and I forget what and basically, like, and then after seeing her for like a few minutes, she's dragged away, and you just see this little girl crying in tears and hysterically as she's being dragged away from her parent. I'm like, That that's what's going on today. That is literally point by point what is going on today. This show is meant to be a dystopian cautionary tale of a worst case scenario, like what if things went just too far. And not just that, this show was written, remember, these episodes are written months in advance. Like, this was already shot, like, a month ago. And yet, we have an episode where I can literally just say... I can just look at the screen and say... This is not a cautionary tale. This is just today's society. This is how far we've fallen. We have fallen far enough that, writers for a show where they're trying to create the most miserable dystopian alternate history possible. The best they could come up with is just matching today's society. They predicted today's current society on that aspect. I know I'm a cynical man. I'm say very cynical things a lot. I like to believe in the good of humanity. This episode, though, it really was just a complete, like, mental, like, just collapse of just the fact that this is just what today is. This is what's going on. We have propagandist machines, that's Fox News, trying to claim it's just like summer camp. Children being detained and ripped away from their parents, and... it's just horrible. It's just horrible we have to watch this show now and say... This isn't... This isn't worst case scenario. This is just today. Oh, and not just that though. Just when you just see things like Jeff Sessions like trying to quote the Bible to give himself emotional justification. Just Jesus motherfucking Christ. I mean, I'm not gonna try to stamp on anyone's religious beliefs here. I personally identify myself as agnostic. I believe in a higher power, but I don't know if I believe in the Christian version of a god, but for anyone who believes God gives a fuck about what you do and get the fucking Bible, a book that was written in ancient times, somehow gives you emotional justification for what the fuck you're doing, just fuck off. God does not give a shit about you, you fucking pieces of human shit. And it's just sad. It's just sad that I have to watch an episode of a dystopian TV show and say, yeah, this is just today's society. This isn't like some worst case scenario. This is just what's going on today. And the fact that the writers of this show, who had to come up with ideas for worst case scenario, came up with this, and this is what today is. A fucking entire party of government just deciding, hey, it's better just to appeal to white nationalists and neo-Nazis over human fucking decency. Whatever happened to human decency in this administration? There were like... whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to a time I could watch a dystopian novel, a dystopian series, and not say, "Oh no, that's just today's society." Like that's not a that's not comparison. That's just what today is. Fuck me. The only sort of emotional justification I can think of is only 25% of the nation approves of this, which you may say, no, John, 25% approve. Well, remember, 25% of the nation believes 9/11 was a government conspiracy. So, you know what? There's just 25% of the nation who's out of their fucking minds and I would just don't deserve to live. They are just awful. Just the worst of the worst. And that's why. So, The Handmaid's Tale, it really is the most timely show ever made. And what's just. No, fuck the glass, just. Just what a miserable, mentally just horrible idea that is. I would want to say there can never be an episode that could ever match this episode, The Handmaid's Tale. But who knows? Who knows? Oh well. So, The Handmaid's Tale, congratulations, writers. You made the most timely show ever made. You all deserve fucking Emmys at this year's, and Golden Globes at this year's television awards, so, but yeah, just what a miserable event this is, so, yeah, you too, as always, please subscribe, I hope my next video is more joyful than this. I can't imagine. This is the most depressing hour of television I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, bye.